Heads up, fellow female leaders, executives, and founders. We have just opened enrollment for the Fall Renegade Accelerator. You can head to renegadeaccelerator.com to check out all the information and apply. And here's the kicker. From now, today, until July 29th, 2022, we have something going on that we've never done before. If you join the Fall Renegade Accelerator before July 29th, if you apply and you're accepted, not only are you in the program and then in the Renegade Collective, you've got your membership, but you also receive a ticket to the 2022 Renegade Summit this September in San Diego. This is something we've never done before, but we don't want you to miss the opportunity to connect in person very soon. So make sure to get that application in before July 29th. Head to renegadeaccelerator.com.
And we look at the leadership traits that drive the highest engagement for leaders. There are 2 leadership traits that, without question, rise to the top and they correlate to the highest leadership scores. And it's vision and humility.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step.
Okay, everyone. So this is a really special episode because it was recorded in France at the Cannes Lions Festival on a boat. And let me give you some context. Back up a bit here, about 22 years. When I was 21, I got my first job with an ad agency, and I had interned at that ad agency. And I was making, I believe it was $24,000 a year as an account coordinator. Now, in advertising and marketing, there is a Super Bowl-ish event for the industry, and that is called the Cannes Lions Festival. This is where the ad agencies get the big awards for the commercials and so on and so forth. And it's once a year, and it is the epic, iconic one event. Now, I had my eye on that ball, and I was like, I'm going to make it there someday, right? And I'm working at this regional ad agency in Phoenix, Arizona called EB Lane, which I give so much credit to helping me launch my career. Thank you, Bo Lane. So I'm off to the races, and I thought I'm going to head to Madison Avenue and work for one of the big shops one day in New York City. When I say shop, I mean ad agency. It's another term. And I watched that picture perfect movie, I think with Jen Aniston, and she was playing this advertising executive, and I'm like, that's my route. That's me. That's where I'm headed. Well, yeah, none of that happened, right? It all shook out to be much different. However, I did make it to the Cannes Lions Festival under completely different circumstances, as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, as an investor. And it reminds me that we have these visions of our path and where we want to go and these goals. But if we get too narrow-minded, we actually might elbow out and eliminate the opportunity for the bigger, better picture. So thank goodness, that I didn't do what I thought I wanted to do and instead let things land where they should. And so this is a reminder that, whatever you think you want, that's great. Get after it, but don't hold it so tight that you squeeze out or have, blinders on what could be. So let me paint the picture here of where this all went down, this conversation. It's a sunny day in the south of France, and Liz Matthews and I are on the Teeds yacht. Okay, Liz Matthews has been on this show before, and I encourage you to listen back to hear more about her story and her context. Liz, I refer to her as a friend tour. equal parts friend and mentor, and let's just add client in there too, right? Because she is a client. So Liz Matthews is the Senior Vice President of Global Brand, Creative, and Experiential Marketing at Dell Technologies. Okay, so what does that mean? She oversees all of brand at Dell, and this is a $100 billion company, so it's a big job. She has hundreds and hundreds of people that report into her, and she leads like no other. So there's an unmatched leadership style that I have witnessed up close and personal now for well over a year, and it is truly magic. So Liz actually went through the Renegade Accelerator program a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago maybe, and then she brought in the Renegade programming into her teams. So this conversation is all about leadership today and what that means, what teams need now versus what they may have needed in a leader 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's about that kind of cultural blending that Liz Matthews is so good at when it comes to encouraging her team members and people leaders to show up as their full selves. That was the challenge. That was the task that we were set with to bring Renegade curriculum and programming into Dell, and that is, how can people show up as their full selves at work, right? Bring all of themselves, which means all of their talent, and not suppress certain areas of their lives. And that's what's unique and progressive about the vision of Liz Matthews. I refer to Liz as a corporate renegade because she is, right? She thinks differently. She shakes shit up, and she's doing that and has constantly done that. It is a big task when you work for a company of that size. If she can do it under those circumstances, and you're listening and you are leading yourself, or maybe a team of 2 or 10 or 100 or whatever it may be, you can do this too. The takeaways from this conversation are relevant to really anyone. And when I talk about leadership, I always kind of look back at, there was a time when I worked in corporate and I was leading myself, right? I didn't have anyone reporting to me. There are times when I was a solopreneur and I'm leading myself once again. You're leading your families potentially, your relationships, your parenting style. It's all leadership, your community. One of the things that I love that Liz always says, and it's just a form of self-expression, I guess, but she says careers are personal journeys that get played out in public. Okay, I love that because it really, if you think of a blank canvas, you're painting this picture of who you are, why you do, what you love on this career canvas. And it's your personal journey that's out in public, right? And it's there for others to witness how you choose to create and navigate and show up from a self-expression point of view. One of the areas of focus in this conversation is also the future of work. And another concept that Liz has so brilliantly brought forward is work is not a destination, it's an outcome. So when we reframe that, what happens? All of a sudden, you are not held hostage to a certain place or space or desk or cubicle or, chair. I just love the idea of mixing freedom into your day and a little more control over disruptions, right? And distractions and inspiration, I would say. When I move around, it could be to a coffee shop, it could be outside, it could be the backseat of my car with my Dell laptop. I get re-inspired every time I move because my environment's changing. So my input from external stimulation is shifting and it's integrating with whatever's going on in my mind, whatever I'm working on. And so I really believe that this concept of the future of work, it's a massive innovation opportunity to think about how that blends and how that impacts culture, productivity, community and collaboration with coworkers. And it's a real moldable time right now. If you think of this as kind of like Play-Doh, we're all figuring this out. And so the opportunity to try new things is really ripe. One more thing that Liz and I touch on is this concept of, one of the things we focus on with the Renegade programming is innovative mindset, being willing to experiment. It takes confidence and vulnerability, which actually Liz refers to often as psychological safety, which she picked up in her career from someone that she admired. And that term, psychological safety, is such a strong phrase, especially in the corporate world, when it's used versus maybe vulnerability, which isn't as firm and strong sometimes in the boardroom or when you're trying to prove ROI or the value of something. But having that psychological safety where you don't fear your job or super negative feedback if you try something new, right? We have to be in a safe container to be able to be willing to learn fast, to move, to experiment, to test. And that's what drives innovation. So we have to have that. And we're very proud that with the Renegade partnership with Dell, we've really been able to drive those percentages up in terms of team members feeling more safe and vulnerable with each other, that they've grown their influence, and they're also able to recover quicker after a setback, increase their sense of joy, all the things. So this is interrelated. And without further ado, hear from Miss Liz Matthews, Senior Vice President of Global Brand at Dell, on the Teeds yacht. And thank you to Teeds for hosting us, which was an incredible backdrop and setting that they provided. Heads up to my fellow female leaders, executives, and founders. We've just opened enrollment for the Fall Renegade Accelerator. Now, this is the career love of my life, and we have been around this block a few times. This is version 9, and it all started as an experiment. Now we have hundreds of women across the globe within the Renegade community. You can head to renegadeaccelerator.com for all the information. You can learn about the program. You can hear from the Renegade graduates. You can hear their results, watch their videos, check out the curriculum, the testimonials, and everything in between. Years ago, I went to Mark Cuban for some investment advice, and I thought I was going to hear him say something about real estate investing or maybe something specific about the stock market. That was not the case. What he said to me was, Amy Jo, invest in yourself. And from that point on, I really did double down on myself. And it's amazing to see the ROI. The Renegade Accelerator is definitely the career love of my life. It's an intensive, real-time virtual training program that continues on. This is not a stop and start. We provide the foundation for the Renegade mentality that extends into everything you do personally and professionally, whether that's growing and scaling your business, climbing the corporate ladder, getting on boards, generating more wealth through investing. If you're fundraising, we also focus on that, as well as, maybe most importantly, building your personal brand so it opens the doors that you need to get you exactly where you want to go. Now, if you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done and go somewhere you've never gone, right? And usually that means surrounding yourself with people you've never surrounded yourself with before. So that is exactly what this is about. And when I've practiced that in my own career and in my own life, the growth has been exponential. Talk about 10x the way you think and execute in that scenario. It's real. Now, in this program with the Renegade Accelerator, we focus on building your personal brand online and offline. I've been doing this for well over 15 years, and I've done it with some of the biggest names out there, some of the biggest brands out there, from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, helping him build his strategy, boots on the ground from the very beginning and beyond, to Hilton Worldwide, to executives, to athletes, celebrities, founders, you name it. And that's what we're going to do with you. In the Renegade Accelerator, I provide the step-by-step playbook for you to grow your thought leadership, your voice of authority, your influence, both online and offline. We also focus on public speaking. Now, this is a big area in the curriculum because getting on those stages and growing that thought leadership, becoming more and more of that voice of authority is super important to be able to get you to where you want to go. And you know what we do? We help you get paid to do so. Now, there's a business side to public speaking. I've been public speaking for about 15 years professionally, which means getting paid to do it. There's a definite playbook and business operations around this. We teach you that. We also teach you the performance side, which is extremely important as well. The curriculum is equal parts education, collaboration, and accountability. Now, we are industry agnostic for a reason, meaning we have women from all different verticals and different industries, because that value exchange and that ability to share the intellectual capital ends up being exponential. So that accountability is also key. Renegades are all about taking action, massive intentional action. And of the over 200 graduates that we have in this Renegade Collective, they have all said, you know what, I signed up and joined the Renegade Accelerator for the curriculum, for the education, and for the content, but they stayed for the people. They stayed for the results and the network and the people. So once you graduate from the Renegade Accelerator, you automatically become a member of the Renegade Collective. This is where you will have access to everything from peer circles, from the other graduates who have graduated before you, to experts, in-person live events, this network of women who opens doors and who are committed to your goals and your growth just as much as their own. Renegade Collective members are personally investing in one another. We are making introductions. We are hiring one another. We're sharing that expertise and that approach that really has created exponential growth for the community. We have had many Renegade Accelerator grads on this podcast, so please listen back to those episodes and hear from them as well. If this piques your interest, head to renegadeaccelerator.com, take a look at everything, apply, and we will circle back with you. If it's a good fit right now, we have limited seats and we can't wait for you to join this Renegade community. We already have an incredible roster who has joined for this next cohort, and we'd love to add you to the list. So head to renegadeaccelerator.com and get that application in. And here's the exciting part that's super timely. For the first time in 5 years of running the Renegade Accelerator program, we are doing something we've never done before. If you join the Fall Renegade Accelerator between now and July 29th, 2022, not only will you get the 8-week program and the Renegade Collective membership that continues on for that full 12-month span, but you will also receive a ticket to the 2022 Renegade Summit this September in San Diego. Now, historically, only Renegade graduates have been invited to attend the summit, but we don't want you to miss out and have to wait a whole year to meet this community and exchange value. So this is a limited time offer. Get that application in today and head to renegadeaccelerator.com. Look at this backdrop. Here we are in the sunny south of France on Teed's yacht.
Yes,
we can't call it a boat.
Yes, beautiful.
So Liz Matthews, Senior Vice President of Global Brand Creative Experiential Marketing. Did I get that right?
You got it perfect.
Okay, so I think that you're one of those execs where they just keep adding the and. Like here you have this, and now you have this, and you're going to. So I am so grateful to be here with you because not only are you, of course, Dell is a client, but also I consider you a friend and a mentor. Aww. So you're a friend-tor.
Oh, I love it.
We got a friend-tor in the house.
Yes, thank you.
And we are going to discuss a Renegade solution to retention and the future of work. But what I was thinking about this morning, this topic wouldn't have even existed, not too long ago. Here we are. A lot of things are new in your world. We've done a lot over the last year together, and we'll get to that. But let's just start with, what does it mean to be a leader today? What does your team need in you today versus what they needed in you 2.5 years ago?
Well, I think what's evolved and definitely what they need, and probably what people needed all along is really just a level of humanity and connection and vulnerability. These last 2.5 years have been, ups, downs, struggles, joy, and everyone's had their own journey. And, we talk about the last couple of years from a technology standpoint, really driving a digital transformation, but also a human transformation. And so I think the art of perfectionism, which we love to practice and we work on every day not to, I think had to go out the door. And it's really about listening, being connected, being honest, asking people how they feel, and looking at the whole person, not just work.
And that's what we've been working on together, right? Mm-hmm. So we are here on the Teeds Yacht because of Carrie King, who is the Senior Vice President of Sales in Midwest, I believe, for Teeds, right? And she's a fellow renegade. So the three of us are renegades. That's our glue. Absolutely. That's our connection.
For sure.
And having met you during, we're going to rebrand the last 2.5 years during the timeout session, and we're all in lockdown. We went through this journey together, and then you decided you wanted to really focus on the people behind the professional on your team. So do you have about 700 people that report up into you?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a lot. That's kind of a big deal. And so you had this renegade idea, which total corporate renegade here. And most wouldn't have probably greenlit this idea as a gift to your team. Hey, we want to focus on you and the human development, not just the professional development, which I know Dell tracks everything, right? Like you are a measurement. You've got your metrics down.
And we heavily invest in professional development for our team members already.
So what was it that we talk a lot about our personal journeys then coming to life that caused you to want to do this? And what we can talk about what it looked like then.
Yeah, for sure. So I am an off-the-charts extrovert. I desire connection. And so moving full-time at home gave me extra time to really be introspective. And that is when I had the opportunity to join Renegades. And the joy I felt and the space I felt for myself as a human being was really transformative. And I wanted to share it. And I know that Renegades really, what the part I was in was focusing on women. And I loved that. And I needed that connection. But I don't have all women working for me. So it was really, really important that, I made it available to all people, creating a really inclusive environment in my organization. And that was it. It was the gift I wanted to give them of introspection, of their self-journey, of joy, of self-confidence, hopefully finding the space for themselves that I found, and putting them as humans ahead of their performance. It really wasn't about the professional. It was really personal.
And this was so interesting because this gets me so excited. At first, especially your people, like your top senior leaders, they're like, "You want to what? What's going on
We're
here?"
gonna measure joy. That was our KPI.
Joy is our KPI, and you're just like, "Yes, it is." And we'll dive into that. And so all the metrics, of course, we studied everything and did a baseline during and after to see the actual measurements and results. My favorite was you really were focused on changing the way people show up in terms of bringing their whole selves, which is not always, I would say, associated with the corporate walls, but 94% of your team changed the way they show up in work and life, they said. So let's talk about the ROI of that to a $100 billion company, right? Like this is a big role, and you're over here talking about joy and vulnerability. But for you, what have you seen kind of as the justification in terms of a business standpoint?
Well, I hope, and I believe this to be true, it's retention. our goal is to attract and retain the best talent. My goal as a leader is to attract and retain the best talent, and hopefully have them take something away from this that is meaningful in their life. I always say, it probably none of us, I know if you asked me when I was a little girl, what was you going to be? I would not say I'm going to be an SVP at Dell doing marketing. And so I feel this obligation where sometimes we work 8, 10, 12 hours when, in our careers, when we were back in the offices, sometimes we saw our workmates more than our family. And I think as leaders, we have a responsibility for our people to make those hours as meaningful as possible, and not just take, but really give. And so that ROI on retention is huge. And thinking about one's whole self first is really a cornerstone for creating an environment that's creative and innovative and safe, that people can be their whole selves, but it's not just about work.
So I see you as a leader first, definitely a marketer second, although you've played every marketing role under the sun.
People that work for me.
Well,
Thank you.
Congratulations on last night.
Thank you.
Dell Technologies kind of swept with, you have the Grand Prix and the Cannes Lions are just rolling in.
Yeah,
it's a huge testament.
Huge milestone for us. Never happened before.
And this is the Super Bowl of creativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that. Let's talk a little bit about, you've said something to me, and every time you say it, I just stop. And I'm probably going to paraphrase, so you can correct me, but our careers are our personal journeys.
That get played out in public.
Yeah. Okay, so let's think about that. Like from you mentioning as a young girl, you never imagined this would be the linear, non-linear path. In your career, you have helped guide one of the biggest technology acquisitions ever with EMC and that deal. You have done all of these huge, incredible things, yet you have this warmth and desire to bring out the human still. And so I hope additional leaders out there, renegade leaders, are just aware that we're in a new phase. We're in a new time now where you have to have both, but this is an opportunity to kind of rebrand corporate. Potentially.
I think so. I think, organizations, like we talked about at the beginning of this, there's attributes for leadership that are super important these days. Empathy, humility, service, connection, vulnerability. And, dare I say it, it's women often possess those traits as leaders. And so I think there is an incredible opportunity for all leaders to really, think about how they show up. And at the end of the day, and we know this, there's a ton of research, people just want connection and people want to feel valued. Right? They just want to know that they're seen and that they're valued. And look, it's not easy to do it every day. Everyone gets caught up in the things you have to do. And there's usually a huge laundry list. Sitting here with Teed's unbelievable growth company, right? So much on that to-do list.
It's big deal.
Absolutely. But you talk about careers getting played out, in personal journeys getting played out in public. This is my personal journey, right? I crave connection, value. That's what motivates me and what inspires me. I am so lucky to have a boss that gives me that. I'm so lucky to have friends and mentors that give me that. And I really think it's just a basic human need. And so it is a gift, I will say, as you grow in your career and the higher you go up, and that's not everyone's career path, and that's fine. But the gift that I have is the ability to hire and mentor additional executives, leaders. And so as they take on more and more responsibility, the more and more responsibility of mine is to lead. And we know this to be true when we do our Tell Dell survey. which is how employees feel about us as a company and us as leaders. I think we had over 90% of our 150,000 team members answer it. And we look at the leadership traits that drive the highest engagement for leaders. There are 2 leadership traits that without question rise to the top, and they correlate to the highest leadership scores. And it's vision and humility. And so it's my job to set vision for my leaders, for my team, for my company, for the brand, and continue to show up authentic and humble.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. If you are digging this podcast, please do us a favor and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It just takes a moment and it means a ton to us.
As a leader, you have to have a lot of confidence to be humble and admit when you do know and when you don't know certain things. Mm-hmm. And I know one of your direct reports, Alejandro, has talked about that, of having gone through Renegade 2, of building confidence. And when we talk about vulnerability, I'd love to rebrand that one too, because it just feels, the connotation is just, it has a bad rap sometimes. But yesterday, you mentioned a term that I'd like to shift, or maybe we could brainstorm, of being psychologically safe. And that, to me, is directly correlated to innovation. And one of our goals with Renegade at Dell inside of your org was innovative growth mindset.
Yes.
You have to have a psychologically safe mindset to be willing to potentially learn fast and not
and try
a home run.
Exactly.
Right.
And be okay, because we all know if you don't feel safe, you're not going to take risks.
Right.
And then innovation doesn't happen.
Right. Exactly. And the motivation by fear is fleeting. It doesn't have a sustainability, right?
For sure.
So if you were to rebrand vulnerability, where would we start, Liz?
I don't know.
I think just that psychologically safe for an growth mindset is,
or just even safe, right?
Safe.
It's hugely important.
Yeah, it's cool to witness that sense of joy and also fulfillment, but also the effectiveness as a leader increasing on your team, and how they personally feel about the company and how it cares for them. It's like the logo, it's hard for that logo to care for you, but the people behind the logo do.
For sure.
The leaders that you're loyal to, right? Let's talk about the future of work for a moment.
For sure.
I know this is an exciting passion of yours, and you've often said that work is an outcome. It's not a destination, and I live that. I could be in the back of my car escaping the toddler and the crazy household in the parked driveway, like on my Dell.
And we've seen the videos of you doing that.
Or Portofino last week, and like enjoying it on a boat. And so it is just anywhere. We need the outcome. What are some of the things you're seeing, or what would you like to see more of as we navigate this new, there are no more corporate walls per se, you know?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is if this is we'll call it the new normal. And look, before, the last 2.5 years, we were already in a flexible work environment. I always tell people I never went in the office 5 days a week.
Which is cool.
Yes,
it
was
wouldn't
very cool.
be expected.
I loved it. Fridays were my day in my yoga pants, and I got caught up. So the transition to new ways of working, and we call it now work from anywhere, was fairly easy. And at the same time, there were challenges in staying connected, right? And, for me, I think it's our opportunity to change the measurements of what engagement looks like. So we're so used to, okay, if I'm face-to-face, we're engaged. But when I was on Zoom, if I'm not getting facial expressions, then there must be a problem. If people turned off their video, well, there must be a problem.
Chat's dead.
Right.
No one's chatting.
But if the chat exploded, yet the videos were off, is that a new way to measure engagement? And so I think for me, my hope is that we have to look for new ways to think about what engagement looks like. And you can't necessarily carry what you used before into the future. And so rather than projecting, well, your video is off, you weren't engaged, look for new ways to understand that engagement or follow up conversations and things like that. That's for me, and have us own and the responsibility of not projecting old standards on the future.
I love that. Really, you're setting some new industry standards when it comes to, given the mass and the scale of Dell and the position that you have in the marketplace, I think it's Einstein who said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. But how can we add some more formal metrics to things that used to feel intangible and soft, like vulnerability, which is being rebranded. But for the greater good of the bottom line and the quality of life, like that's a good combo. What are you most passionate about right now?
Oh, goodness. I'm passionate about a lot of things. And I think, being here at Con, and it's been a number of years since I've been, so it's been so inspirational. And this, we talk about it a lot, this idea and this belief that I have around brands being alive. As running a brand, it is all about the people. And we talk about brands being alive. They're made up of human beings. And so I'm so reminded of that, and even more motivated to think about how you connect and the ecosystem of connection that drives brands. And it starts with team members. And I think sometimes we think, absolutely got to connect with our customers. It's our reputation. It's this. And all those things are true. But what it really, really begins with is the humans that interact every day, who show up however they do on the phone with each other. And I always tell people, when someone asks you in a grocery store, hey, where do you work? How you answer represents and shows the brand. And that's a gift. And so, I'm reminded that when you care about people and you think about everything you do from a marketing perspective through that lens, it brings a level of humanity to what you're doing. The work you're doing creates innovation. And I think in so many conversations this week, and seeing the work from so many companies and the passion around it, I think it's never been more true.
I believe that 100% too. It's cool to, look at people in the eyes and have a conversation here, and actually feel the empathy, feel the genuine, hey, I care about you as a human and we're doing business.
Yeah.
Versus a couple years ago, it was, let's get things done. And
it was a little frenetic.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little frenetic.
A little bit. So you are in charge of the soul of Dell Technologies brand.
I like to say I guide it.
You guide.
I guide
it. That's a
there
big...
are a whole lot of people.
Well,
that
yes,
are
you guide.
Part
there you go. There you go.
I'm just their guide. I'm just
Fair.
a guide.
You're the cruise director a bit. Yeah. So how do you feel you keep your finger on that pulse? That's a big, you're everywhere. You're global. You have, and is that something that you talk about hiring the best talent and they're there, that's the team. But how do you feel these changes? Is it a personal journey that sometimes guides, like if you're feeling one way, for example, like we talked about during the last couple of years, your team must be feeling it too.
Yeah, I think, from a pure brand perspective, the marketer in me has a lot of ways to measure globally. And so, and I think also staying on the forefront of trends and what's happening in the marketplace with brands, the role brands are playing these days, and the expectations that our stakeholders, which is much greater than our shareholders, but the whole ecosystem has of us, is hugely, hugely important. And we feel that, and we know that, and we live it every day. And we have a responsibility to our stakeholders. And I think that drives a huge amount of what we do and how we look at the brand.
Such a dynamic time. And we'll wrap up here in just a moment. So we talk a lot about digital transformation. That's your world. And you really can't have it without human innovation and a shift in the way we think and where we're headed. If we were to go back to the little girl who probably didn't imagine to be on a boat in France as an SVP, where you are now, what would you say to her?
Oh man, just have fun, right? Like you're going to learn a whole lot of things along the way, and keep laughing really loud. I have an incredibly loud laugh. And yeah, just have fun.
Just have fun.
Just have fun.
What a way to wrap up here on the Teeds Yacht.
Thank
you to Teeds for hosting, and congrats on all your success.
Yes, congratulations.
Huge thank you to Liz, to you and Dell Technologies, as well as your entire team, for your partnership with Renegade Global, and I appreciate you.
Oh, we appreciate you, and we're grateful for the work we're doing together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?